So the sprint tournament happened yesterday. It was very exciting. We got to see lots of different strategies and stuff. I just want to show the last two games of the sprint tournament in case you missed them. There's not the last two games. Two of the late games in the sprint tournament in case you missed them, because there are a couple of interesting strategies.
Nope, that was the wrong game. That's the third game between them.
So,
No, it'd be five.
so this is the last two games. So Battlecode versus Brute Forcer.
Battlecode is rushes.
This is a great example of
early design school,
a rush strategy. So like Battlecode already has
so right now
a design school right next to Brute Forcer's HQ, and then just builds some landscapers and buries the HQ, and the game ends round 160 or something.
Win.
190.
All right, Battlecode.
So that was one of the strategies that we saw a lot of.
Let's see, what's the next map or the next map?
Brute Forcer does the exact opposite of that.
This is procedural.
And so it was really interesting to see. So Brute Forcer and a couple of other teams
and it looks really nice.
would actually try to. So you can see Battlecode's minor trying to rush right there.
Yeah.
Wait, the roars, however you pronounce
but
it.
failing to path close enough until too late.
Like, what do you see in this?
But anyway, so Battlecode goes the other direction and just like builds tons and tons of units.
If you see a butterfly,
so a lot of teams
it means
did
you're a good person.
what you see on the right, like building the 8-unit wall. Very effective for protecting from floods.
All I see
But a few of the top teams have figured out how to break the turtles.
All right, so Brute,
and
it looks like
one
the
way that
early
we saw
rush
a couple
failed.
teams do was to surround the enemy HQ with
And
drones
Brute
and then
Forcer
crunch in
has
all
found
together
this gigantic
and
soup
pick up all the
deposit here,
landscapers and drop them in the water,
which is helping a lot.
and then replace them with their own
But they don't have a
landscapers
wall yet.
and bury the
They
HQ.
have a wall. But Battlecode's wall is much bigger.
Other teams like Brute Forcer
the
seem to
terraforming is
just
starting.
attempt to terraform the entire planet. So you can see there's a grid starting to form.
They have 9 evaporators now.
And Brute Forcer is just like
that was very close.
just filling up the entire map almost.
All right, now they have 4
with
evaporators
for sort of a higher elevation grid.
But the map is getting terraformed.
And you don't see it in this
so
game, but they would build lots and lots of evaporators and stuff like that.
So we'll see.
So this was an interesting strategy
Getting
because
so much
eventually they
soup.
just make it over to the other HQ,
Alright, yeah, well, it
and
looks
the
like
drones have already
evaporator-
drowned a couple of the landscapers, but then these landscapers can sort of just poke a hole in the wall and finish the job.
They're stuck trying to.
So
fill
yeah,
in
now there are no
the
drones
water,
left,
aren't they?
or no landscapers
Oh, no,
left.
these are all just
because all
negative
of
100.
them got drowned by drones.
Oh, that
And
one's
Brute
really
Forcer's landscapers are just surrounding the enemy's HQ's wall and slowly digging it out from
Oh, hey, you're right.
from under
I wasn't
them.
even paying attention. I was looking at
So
the-
this
So they
I
got rid of
thought
all the
this
enemies
was a
there.
pretty good illustration
and
of
they're
like
gonna
two of
bury
the big strategies that
That's
we saw in
good,
the sprint
because if they tried
tournament.
to dig through this
Clearly,
I'm
there's a
surprised they
lot
filled in the
left
negative
to implement,
They have
but
very good
maybe
terraforming.
maybe that'll give you guys some ideas. So, anyways, the as promised, we have a few changes, a few balance changes to the game. So these are okay. So evaporators are now going to cost 500 soup and yield 2 soup per turn, which is down from 1,007. Because in some games we found that they were extremely powerful, and a team would end with over 100,000 soup. So that was too much soup. I never thought I'd say it. Anyway, so evaporators also decrease nearby soup by 20% instead of 33%. Not that it matters much for pollution. Yeah, question about evaporators? Soup. So they decrease. Oh, sorry, that's pollution, not soup. Decrease nearby soup. That's wrong. Okay, where am I? All right, so decrease nearby pollution by 20%. Okay, so and those are the only two sort of balance changes that we wanted to make, just making evaporators a little bit more accessible and a little bit less powerful. But also messages submitted to the blockchain now have to be exactly length 7. It's a long story, but they didn't before and now they do. And we're also going to add a lot more functions for sensing information about units. So now when you are sensing a unit, So anything within your vision radius, you'll now be able to sense what unit it's carrying, if it's a drone, and whether it's carrying a unit, how much dirt a landscaper is carrying, how much dirt is on a building, the amount of soup carried by a miner, and the cooldown of every unit. We've also added a disintegrate function, so you don't have to just like deliberately throw an exception anymore. We have patched a bug where string operations were fixed cost, no matter the length of the string. So now they will be proportional to the length of the string. Not that many people were using that, but some were using it a lot. We have changed the function on the map again to do what you would expect, which is return true if it's on the map and return false if it's not on the map. We're adding a sense nearby soup function, which, like sense nearby robots, will just give you the location of all the soup in your vision radius, because it's like kind of a pain to get that otherwise. And we also are going to make a new promise about maps, which is that they will always have at least 1,000 soup near the HQ. So near meaning there will be like some soup deposit, and at least part of that deposit will be visible from the HQ. And there will always be at least 1,000. So yeah, those are sort of the new spec updates that will be going out tonight, and engine. And okay, and then for the rest, or sorry, does anyone have questions about those spec changes or anything like that? All right. For today, I finished the organized lecture player, so I'll show you that again, talk a little bit more about sort of infrastructure foundation for the rest of the tournament. And so yeah, lecture player is going to become the reference player that you have to beat to get credit, or you can write a strategy report. And then tomorrow I'll do an advanced Git lecture. Friday will be advanced nav, and then after that there will be no more lectures, just tournaments and stuff. So, but we might still hold office hours if people are interested, but TBD on that. So yeah, all right. Those are my announcements. All right. Right. So today's going to be a bit shorter. Just want to show you the sort of final organizational structure of lecture player, hopefully to help you with a foundation for your bots, and we'll look at that. Nope, lecture player. So since we were gone, I have added, so one problem that was apparent during the sprint tournament is that if you don't defend yourself against drones, your landscapers will be drowned. So as a final sort of, not final, but as another feature to lecture player, I thought it'd be a good example to add code for shooting down drones as a net gun. And the HQ is also a net gun. So this is like the classic problem where you want the same functionality in two different units. So like, how do you do that in a sane way where you don't have to edit you don't have to have two copies of the code and all that good stuff. So I did it in a very Java object-oriented way, where let's make a pull request so I can show you the diff. So the way that this was done, the way that this was done is now there's a new class called shooter, and so shooters extend building. So this is another type of building, a more specific type, and what this adds is every take turn, it does the super take turn as usual, and then it just looks for robots of the enemy team, and if it's a delivery drone and you can shoot it, then shoot it. And so now what we can do, all we have to change for the HQ is just extends shooter. Literally nothing else changed in the entire HQ file, which is great because the HQ still has all of the building stuff that it expected because it inherits all of the building things from the shooter class. But now at the beginning of every turn, the HQ will first see if it can shoot anything, and then if it can't, or I mean even if it can, it'll take the rest of its turn. So shooting will take precedence over other things that cost cooldown, like building miners or something like that, but I think this is reasonable. Additionally, the net gun, instead of being a generic building, is now a shooter, and we've just finished implementing net guns. Like, you don't even have to do anything else. There doesn't have to be a specific net gun class unless you want to add something to net guns that only net guns do. So for example, net guns still have a lot of computation to spend if they so choose. So maybe you want to use that extra computation for something, and you don't want to bog down a different building. But for now, we can just implement the net gun by making it a shooter instead of a regular building. And so if later we decide, oh, look, all of these drones, now we can see what they're carrying. So we want to prioritize shooting drones carrying enemy units so that hopefully they get dropped in water or something. Then you would only have to change it in this function here, in the shooter class. You could, given the choice of multiple robots, you could look at which one is carrying stuff and choose to shoot that one instead. And you would only have to change that here, and it would take effect for both HQ and net guns. So that's, again, one of the reasons that dry, don't repeat yourself, is a very standard programming rule, or rule of thumb. But yeah, so besides that, I've just finished splitting everything into different files. So now the robot player file looks really nice. It's just this one run function. We create a unit of the appropriate class. They all know the function take turn because all robots know take turn. So then you just have this loop, take the turn, catch any exceptions, yield, and that's the entire function. So all of the complexity about each unit is hidden away in its particular file, like hq.java or whatnot. And all of these can be fairly short, and all of the details about a certain type of unit is in that unit's file, which is great because then you can see even without reviewing this pull request, like if I just see the git diff and it says, oh, HQ, robot player, and shooter were changed, then I know that whoever made these changes didn't change how nav works or didn't change how the communications work or something like that, right? And vice versa, if there are only changes to nav, then I know all the robots' navigation is about to get better, and we didn't have to change anything specific to each robot, they just got better at pathing. And so that's why you would want things, another reason you'd want things in different files. Also leads to fewer sort of merge conflicts and stuff like that. Right, so in summary, we've got the top level robot class, building and unit, extend those. Shooter is a type of building. Miner is a type of unit. And they all inherit the stuff of their superclass. So all units know the HQ location and update it at the beginning of every turn, or find it if they haven't found it already. Miners can just use HQ location without having to worry about that kind of thing. And everything is great. So this is now what's on the team to devs. If you want to scrimmage the lecture player, test how good your turtle breaking code is, stuff like that. So I'm just merging this pull request. So that's the organizational structure of lecture player. I would highly recommend using a similar structure for your own bots, just to make working on a team a lot easier, and so it's not all just in one big ugly file. And again, if you want to copy lecture player for yourself, what you can do is you can click fork up here. So if I want to fork this to npfos, and I will rename it to my team name. So as soon as it's done with this. So the forking is a GitHub thing where you copy a base repo and you get all of the commits and everything. So this is just a copy of a Git repository, but now you, or like the person who forked it, can actually make edits and push them and stuff like that, unlike with lecture player where only the devs have access to that. So now what I can do is I can first change it to my team name, which is the most important thing, to devspot. Okay, so it's my team name. It needs to be private. Don't forget to do that, because you don't want teams to steal the code that you worked on really hard. Oh, I have to duplicate it. All right, so sorry, don't fork, duplicate. Oh, this is going to tell me how to just git clone it. Okay, well, all right, we'll do it the slow way then, because this is important and useful to know. So, so what you really want to do is, so clone, yeah, okay, fine. I thought we weren't gonna have to do it the slow way, because when I tested it, it was private, but it's not private anymore. All right, yeah, this is worth going through, I think. So the, where's my scaffold? Here. All right, so lecture player, we'll go back to git checkout, get back to the master branch. Okay, and then what we want to do is clone clone the lecture player. So we'll go to Battlecode, lecture player. Okay, so clone bear is going to, I believe, get it set up so that you make a copy, but you don't link it to the original repository. So if I, oh, that was weird. So if I'm now in the scaffold folder. So, so this is where you would put your bots, and I'll git clone the lecture player repo. I need it to be bear. And then I'm going to give it a different name, which is an option you can do with git clone. So by default, it'll just copy the name, but I'm going to name it todevs bot. So if I do this, and then I ls, I now have a third bot, todevs bot, so I can go into todevs bot. And then I just need to create a new repository that it can be mirrored from. So we'll go to this, todevs bot. I just need to delete this copy so that I can make a new one. And so the mirror command, I believe, is just a shorthand for sort of setting. Is a shorthand for setting the upstream, which is where you push and pull from. Upstream is like what it's called in Git, to the correct repository. And then also mirror, I think, does like sort of an initial sync to update the remote repository, which is GitHub. GitHub is remote. All right, so delete vfos/todevs bot. Okay. All right, so now I can create. Oh, it thinks I'm on mobile. This is silly. All right, so now I can create a new repository. Repository name is todevs bot. It's going to be private, very important. And then todevs Battlecode 2020 bot. Okay, great. So now I can create this. I can do the mirror thing. Stop. There. Okay. So right now, if I do git remote, why can you not do this, please? Okay, git remote -v. All right, well that's kind of annoying. I typed git remote -v like this. It tells me what the remote is. The remote, as in where I'm going to push and fetch from. Fetch is part of pull. So when you pull, git pull does the equivalent of git fetch and then merge into whatever I have. Lots of people prefer to git fetch first so that they can see if there are going to be any conflicts and stuff like that, and then merge or rebase or choose how it gets combined. But git pull by default just like pulls it in and merges it. And like most of the time that's fine, so that's what I use, but sometimes you'll want to like rebase or something, and we'll talk about rebasing tomorrow. But anyways, so the remote right now is lecture player where I cloned it from, but if I git push mirror the new repository, then it's going to upload all that code, set up the new remote, the new branch. So this is the new branch on todevspot instead of lecture player. And now if I do git remote -v, it tells me, oh, what? No, hold on, that's wrong. Git pull. What? What are you doing? Oh, it's because, no, that's not why. Hold on a second. GitHub. Oh, I'm silly. This is mirroring. This is not. I'm just like totally on the wrong page. So this is if you want to. Okay, well then I'll do it my way. So all right, so at least we have this mirrored now. So that's good, and it's private. So this has all the stuff that we want. But I'm gonna have to git change upstream myself. And I don't remember the command. I thought it was the mirror one, but it's not. To new. Come on, to new remote. Yeah, okay, so this. All right, so it's actually just git set URL origin to the new one, which is todevspot. No, why are you like this? GitHub help. Oh, git remote set. Yes, git remote set URL. I can't even tell what I'm typing. All right, hold on a second. Let me just get a bit better behaved theme. Forget this one. Okay, let's go into todevspot. Okay, git remote set URL origin. That. Okay, so now if I do git remote, you can even see from my history that I've done this before. Okay, so now it's todevspot. Now if I git pull, are you kidding me? Why should this must be run in a work tree? I think the mirroring was the problem. Okay. You know what? We'll just do it this way. So okay, so this is another important Git skill to learn. Sometimes you have to nuke the repository. So we'll just try that again. I git clone that. All right. Sorry, GP is an alias for git pull. I'm also going to talk about, so occasionally I slip up and do GP or like GD or something like that to see the diff. I will talk about that during the advanced Git lecture tomorrow. But spoilers, there's a file called git config and you can set aliases. I'll show you tomorrow. Anyways, so important Git skill learned. Sometimes you have to nuke the repository. Well, this actually was a skill that I was going to talk about tomorrow, so I guess that's just foreshadowing. But anyways, so we now have a private copy of lecture player, and we can just start making changes if we want that are going to like improve it. So like we can have the HQ just print something like todevs are the best or something. And then we can go ahead and like commit this change. And then just like push that. And so now this will go to the repository we want, which is todevspot, and not to lecture player, which is the one that we initially made the copy of. So there we go, the commit's there, and it's not here, so that's great. Okay, so this is sort of how I would recommend setting up your bot. The only caveat to that is if you want to build maps, and you want to share those maps with your team, then it might be more useful to do the same thing except with the entire scaffold, because there is this other maps folder right here. It's empty for me, but you can add maps, your team's maps there. You can also add them to this maps file. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. The maps file inside the source folder is for Java files, because the way that we generate maps is like we actually have a map builder Java class, and each map is like built by sort of using the map builder Java class to like put soup at a location, put dirt at a location, etc., or like put it in a rectangle or put it in a cylinder, something like that. And so when we have like a map validator, which checks that like the HQ is within the right elevation range. It checks that the amount of soup on the map and stuff like that. And it handles all of the symmetry and stuff for you. So that's what the one in the source folder is for the Java files that generate the map. The one out here is for the BC20 like actual map file. So if you use, there's kind of a cool online editor for making maps. Stone Force, yeah, this one. This map builder. So another competitor has made a map builder, which you may find useful, and I'll get the actual link in a second. It's somewhere in here. Where did the URL go? Shoot. Okay, wait. Map builder. All right, well, I can't find it, but I will link it. So I'll link it in the Discord in a bit. But anyways, that tool will output just a BC20 file. So you don't get the like validation stuff from the Java file, but it's a nicer editor. And you would put those maps here, and you could share those with the team, with your team, if you're through Git, if you clone the entire scaffold, or not, if you just do the lecture player setup that I have here. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for infrastructure, and I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So tomorrow we'll be back with advanced Git. Friday will be advanced Nav, and yeah, so the rest of this lecture is just going to be sort of office hours if you have questions and stuff. And also sprint recovery. But yeah, so that's it. See you, Twitch.